I always wondered why some people hit their goals faster than me, and I used to think that it was because of luck. But I realized and learned that it's really all about mindset. In this episode, I'm going to share with you the mindset shift that helped me speed up my success and completely changed how I viewed success and completely changed how I live my life. As a full-time senior program manager and now content creator, I've seen what really set top achievers apart, and it's not just about skill or hard work. There are other aspects in particular that relate to the mind and the mindset that separate those that achieve the top results within an organization or in a business and those that don't. There are three traits in particular that I discovered that completely broke through all my roadblocks and made the difference in my life and in my success and allowed me to reach my goals faster. Today, I'm going to share these three traits with you and show you how they've worked for me and how they can work for you as well. The first trait or characteristic that I learned that successful people have or high top achievers have is that they have developed a growth mindset. Now, the concept of a growth mindset is something that Carol Dweck talks about in her book Mindset, and Carol talks about the two types of mindset that successful people have, and the first one being a fixed mindset and the second one being a growth mindset. In terms of the fixed mindset, the person with a fixed mindset believes that their abilities, their skill level is set at a certain level and that they're not going to improve or get better from there, and that really the current level that they're at or the things that they know and are good at is sort of capped. And if they're going to improve, then it's probably only incrementally and not a lot. On the flip side of that, Carol talks about the growth mindset, and people that exhibit a growth mindset and have a growth mindset believe that abilities, new abilities, and existing abilities can be developed, and that they view the process of learning, the process of failing as an opportunity to grow and become an even better person and even better professional, and in turn reach their results faster and have larger and more successful milestones than those that have a fixed mindset. This concept of having a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset is something that I knew in theory, and I had thought about it before, but I hadn't really sat down and meditated on what it really meant. And it wasn't until I decided in my career that I wanted to grow and I wanted to move to the next level into positions of leadership, where now I begin to have influence and begin to tackle a whole different skill set than before. So moving into those realms of leadership and influence now, I now had to confront myself to learn new things and to be honest with myself and wonder why I wasn't moving as fast as I wanted to before. And going through that honesty and reflection, I realized that I did exhibit some of those tendencies and some of those traits of having a fixed mindset, because I was a person who had big, ambitious goals and would tell you about my big, ambitious, and audacious goals. But deep inside, I didn't truly believe that I could be in those positions, even though I visualized myself in those positions, because of the fear that I wasn't capable of learning what I needed to learn in order to be on par with some of those people that I looked at in those positions of leadership and influence within my organization. So becoming now honest that if I want to grow and if I want to become that high achiever, then I needed to develop more of the growth mindset that Carol talks about. And I needed now to start to view failure and to start to view learning as an opportunity for me to become the person that I wanted to become. This concept of fixed and growth mindset was further cemented in my mind when I read a book by Donald Miller, and it's called Business Made Simple. And Donald talks about the 10 characteristics of what he calls a value-driven professional, meaning that if you want to be someone in an organization, or if you are a business owner, or if you are some type of leader and you want to be driven by value or to create value for other people in a way that you garner and get that influence within that realm, then you need to become what he called a value-driven professional. And value-driven professionals were people that exhibited a growth mindset. And when I read that and I understood that I needed to change my fixed way of thinking and looking at myself as someone who has a ceiling and I could not go beyond that. So I needed to be able to visualize and to be able to really believe that my ceiling was a lot higher and that I was capable of learning anything that I wanted to learn in order to accomplish my goals and objectives within the organization or within building a personal brand or running a small business. So developing that growth mindset for me was almost the very first thing that I needed to do before I could actually start this journey of developing into a leader and developing into a person of influence. Because without that growth mindset, then there's no way that you or I can move forward from where you are. You can't learn anything. You can't add any additional skill sets. You can't develop any new type of influence. You can't learn a new skill because you yourself don't believe that you're capable of growing. If that's the mindset that you bring into an organization, if that's the mindset that you bring into entrepreneurship, into business, then I realized that I would have been doomed from the very beginning. And that's one of the reasons why some of my earlier businesses really didn't take off and some of my earlier ideas didn't take off, is because I truly didn't believe that I was capable of executing them. I had a fixed mindset to where it was really me thinking that those who get lucky are the ones that succeed. But shifting that mindset now to thinking that those who grow the fastest and those who are open to growing the fastest are typically the ones that are going to be successful. So this brought me into really a quest to start to figure out, how do I develop that growth mindset, right? Now that I've determined that I have this fixed mindset and that I want to completely change that to now have a growth mindset where I am a student of the game per se, I wanted to find ways to do it. And Carol Dweck talks about it in her book, that there are 5 ways to develop a growth mindset. And the first way that she talks about is to embrace challenges. And this is a pretty important point to understand, is having a fixed mindset means that you don't embrace any new challenges. You don't go after any new challenges because you're not trying to grow. You're trying to stay within that safe space that you are in and maximize yourself in that safe space, which A lot of people do that, and I've done that a lot earlier in my career and in my journey. And you can do moderately well in that. And if you're happy with that, then fine. But if you're looking to become bigger and get into those positions of leadership and influence, or run a company or build a brand, then you have to change the relationship that you have with tough things. You have to change the relationship that you have with going after the hard stuff. And when you see a challenge, the mindset shift that I made needs to be, this is a challenge for me now, but this will not be a challenge for me for very long, because I have a growth mindset and I know that I can learn what I need to learn to be effective. And I also know that I can bring in people that can help me be more effective. So this thing that I'm trying to do is not impossible. It's just that right now I might not have the skill set for it, but I will develop the skill set for it. The second way to develop a growth mindset is to persist through obstacles, meaning I've now decided to embrace the challenges. So now I'm going after some of those decisions. I've got some ideas in my head, and now I'm starting to execute on those ideas, and I'm starting to do things and to put myself out there to talk to people. And I run into obstacles and challenges. There is a tendency to want to just give up. There's a tendency to think that because you've run into an obstacle, the idea that you had was wrong, which is not the case. And that's something you have to flip in your mind, that when you're going after something that you want, there is a 99.9% chance that you're going to run into several obstacles. And that's because if you're trying to accomplish something that's important, it's going to be hard. So persisting through those obstacles, going through those obstacles and not stopping, even if you run into a roadblock, even if you get to a place where you realize you don't know something, you don't have a certain skill set, you're not good at something, you're not sure of something, having the ability to find a way to still keep going is critical to success. It's critical to developing that winning mentality and having a growth mindset, because a person with a fixed mindset, the moment that they run into an obstacle, they give up. And I didn't want to be that person. And I knew that if I was that person, I would never be able to accomplish all my goals and objectives. The third way to develop a growth mindset is to see effort as a path to mastery. Now, the way I interpreted this is the path to mastery, the path to getting good at something, the path to getting competent at something and to becoming an expert in something, if that's the desire, is through effort, is through doing. So trying things when you have an idea, going after those things and trying, knowing that you're going to fail, putting in effort and persisting through that failure is really what's going to get you to that place where you can now say, I am good at this thing, and it starts to produce results. So me understanding that it's not those that don't try, or it's not those that don't take risks that succeed in life. The ones that succeed in life take a lot of risk, and they put in a lot of effort, and they fail and fail and fail a lot of times. Or if they don't fail a lot of times, they fail in a lot of big ways, but ultimately they succeed. So if you look at anybody who's been successful in an organization, who's reached the top levels of leadership in an organization, or who's built a business, or who's built a successful personal brand, you can almost 99% of the time see a trail of failures that they've left behind, because they've put in the effort to become the quote unquote master at their craft. And understanding that will help you into developing that growth mindset. The fourth way that Carol talks about to developing a growth mindset is to learn from criticism. Now, this one is a pretty hard one for me, and it's one that's taken time to develop, and it's one that I struggle with every single day. And that's because I care about what people think about me, and I have learned about myself that I tend to take criticism as an indictment on me as a person. So when someone criticizes an idea that I have or criticizes something that I say or something that I do, my natural instinct is to then say that, oh, they're criticizing who I am as a person because my thing was not good enough, and I take it as I am not good enough. So embracing this point and learning to now look at criticism as not an indictment of me, but rather a source of gold, really, when you get criticism from the right people, the people that really care about you and the people that value your ideas and your opinions, and they understand your intent in what you're trying to do. It's actually one of the secret weapons that successful people have is they have initial ideas and they're not afraid to speak those ideas out and to throw them out into the universe. And they're not afraid to get criticism back because what they realize is that their initial ideas sound good to them, but they might be very raw ideas that need to be refined. So by throwing them out there and getting that criticism back from the people that they trust, they then get sharper ideas. And this concept made sense to me when I realized that if I look at it like writing a research paper, the first draft is almost always bad. It's almost always not the draft that makes it into the publication. My initial ideas sound great, but they're almost always not the best thing in the world. And I have learned that as I get that criticism and that constructive feedback, my ideas become sharper because now I'm able to see it from different perspectives, and I'm able to then think about things differently and take that original idea that I had, build it up based on the feedback that I get from the people that I trust, and then it turns into an even better idea. Which leads me into the fifth way to develop a growth mindset, and that is to find inspiration in the success of others. I used to think that people around me succeeded because they were better than me, and because they were succeeding in the things that I wanted to do, I would let that get me down, and I would let that get my spirits down and my confidence down, because then I would look at myself and say that, well, this person has built this business, this person has gotten this position, and it just means that they have something that I don't have, and I don't know if I can develop that skill, so maybe they're just better than me. And that was a fixed mindset way of thinking, not the way that successful people think. Successful people really celebrate when other people are successful in the things that they're trying to do, because it almost serves as a proof of concept. Is something that we have in the project management world, is you're proving a concept that you had, and you're proving that it works and it produces results. So when successful people see other people become successful, they're inspired by that, because that means that they themselves have the ability to do something similar, and they can learn from that, and they can take lessons from that and grow and develop their own version of success based on somebody else. So when I changed my mindset to now looking at people that are doing the things that I want to do, watching them be successful, it now pumps me up and inspires me to say, somebody out there that looks like me and has the same vision and ideas that I have is looking to improve, is actually being successful, and therefore I can do success in that field and I can accomplish success in my own way. So it now inspires me. So the key takeaway is that growth mindset individuals believe that they can change and grow in every aspect of their lives, which makes them more adaptable and more resilient, and it allows them to accomplish their goals faster and to achieve success even faster. The second characteristic is something that was inspired by Donald Miller from his book, Business Made Simple, and it's to see yourself as an economic product. Now, this was a new term for me, and this was something that was a little bit confusing at first, but when I understood this, it completely changed the game for me, because when you see yourself as an economic product, and Donald explains that an economic product is something that is of value, something that gives back value, that you invest in and it gives back value. And if you see yourself as an investment that adds value and solves problems, then people are going to want to pay you. People are going to want to put you in positions of leadership. People are going to want to follow you. Think of it as a stock. When you look at a stock in a company, and when you want to invest in a stock in a company, it's not necessarily because you just love the company, right? Because it's just a company with a great logo, a great website, and a beautiful looking product. That's not necessarily why you invest in a company. You invest in a company, yes, because of all the branding and everything else, but the primary reason you invest in a company is because you want a return on your investment. You want to make money in the long term, and you want to get something back for paying into a company. So looking at yourself in a similar fashion as if you were a stock and people invest in you, and now as you see yourself as this economic product, you become obsessed with giving people a return on their investment. Understanding that us as human beings, we are all unique, we are all different, we're not investments or stocks, but you have to realize that your friends and family treasure you and they cherish you and they love you, of course, and they look at you for who you are. But in the marketplace, people look at you as an investment. And in an organization, people look at you as an investment. It's about what problems can you solve? And the more problems you can solve, the bigger problems you can solve, the more valuable you become, and the more investment you return to those that invest in you. For example, like your boss, if you're working in a company, your customers, if you run a business. If you return 3 times, 4 times, 5 times what they invest in you, they're going to be willing to invest even more. And you don't even have to ask a lot of the times. They're just going to come to you and say, how can I invest even more in you? So by now thinking of myself as an economic product that people want to invest in, this changed my mindset in how I approach my career, in how I approach business. I now look at myself as an investment that my employer wants to invest in, an investment that my customers want to invest in, and now as a content creator, an investment that the viewers want to invest in. So I have become more obsessed with giving a return on that investment in the form of value, in the form of my effort, in the form of the product that I put out there into the world. That has become more important for me because now that I know that people are willing to invest in things that give a return back to them, it makes me even more fired up to want to give a return and to want to serve people and to want to help as many people as I can, because I know that that relationship is going to be reciprocated. And it's not a one-way street. It now becomes a two-way street. They invest in me and I give them a return. The third trait of successful people is that successful people have a bias towards action. Donald Miller in his book talks about how you think about the people that you work with in an organization. You think about people that run businesses, people that have built personal brands, and you can look at a lot of those people and realize that they may not be the smartest people in their area, and that there are a lot of people that are smarter than some of these big executives, smarter than some of these business owners, but they're not running the companies. They're not in positions of leadership, and they're not in positions of influence. And one of the common characteristics that Donald discovered was that the people that were in these high positions and that were running these companies, one of the common things amongst them is that all of them had a bias towards action. All of them wanted to execute on their ideas, and they executed on their ideas. And they did not let great ideas die on the vine. These successful people didn't just dream about doing something. They didn't just talk about doing something. They were all about doing. And they took action, even if they knew they were going to fail, even if they didn't have all the information. And before it was even perfect, they would execute on those ideas, because the mindset was not necessarily how do I come up with an idea that's not going to fail. It was how do I come up with a great idea or an idea that I think is good, and how do I fail fast so that I can prove that this idea works or not, or that I can get information in order to learn, to grow, and to take that failure and to pivot and have an even sharper idea. So they had a bias towards action. And I realized that a lot of people have great ideas. Everybody has great ideas. I was a person who had amazing ideas, great ideas, and I always talked about them. All my friends knew them. My family knew them. But after a while, I realized that I keep talking about these same ideas, and every single year I keep saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to build this, I'm going to build that. But I'm still in the same position. I haven't done it. I haven't built it. I haven't made any money from it. Nothing. I just keep dreaming. And I realize that everybody has dreams. Everybody has great ideas. But the ones that succeed, the ones that build big things, are the ones that actually act on those ideas, are the ones that actually go out and take the risk of failing and execute, and also take the risk of succeeding. Taking a risk is really a two-way street. You take a risk and you fail. You take a risk and you succeed. A lot of us, we look at the failure aspect of it. Risk equals failure. Risk equals failure. That's not the case. Those that have a bias towards action know that risk equals failure or success. And if it's failure, you learn from that failure quickly, you get data quickly, and you can turn that around into success much quicker than someone who doesn't even try. And one of my favorite quotes is that it's better to be the man that tries and fails than the man that has a great idea, too afraid to try, and always wonders what if. So realizing this mindset shift that having a bias towards action is really what is going to accomplish goals, I have come to terms knowing that setting goals is not going to build my career. Achieving them is what's going to build my career. So every day I ask myself one question: what do I need to get done today to get closer to achieving my goals? Asking yourself this question will allow you to move quickly on ideas. Don't overthink it. Get things done. That's what successful people do. They have an idea, they bounce it around people that they trust, and then they move quickly towards that idea. They don't overthink it, and they get things done. Fail or succeed, they never stop, they keep moving. Last time I shared another big mindset shift, and that is facing fear. I explained what I'm doing with facing fear and hitting my goals. It's been a game changer for me, and if you're struggling with fear, I think this episode will help you too as well. So check it out and subscribe for more content, and as always, have a wonderful day.